extension Greater Estate Numwa Adogono. MBN TV, your mega broadcasting network. My name is El Samuels. The news is also live across all our social media handles on MBN 360. Take a look at the headlines. Professor Opoku Agyeman calls for stricter compliance with building regulations after Aveno building collapse. In business, Ghana stock market suffers broad-based sell-off. On the international front, hundreds of captives freed from Boko Haram mountain hideout. This and many other stories coming up. The Vice President, Professor Nana Opoku Agyeman, has urged developers and engineers and property owners to strictly adhere to building regulations following the recent collapse of a building at Aveno. She says the compliance with construction standards is essential to preventing avoidable disaster and protecting lives. A tragic building collapse at North Industrial Area in Accra has claimed the lives of 2 people with 3 others rescued from the rubble. Emergency personnel, including firefighters, rescue teams, and other security agencies were swiftly deployed to the scene. After report of the collapse, rescue operations continue for several hours as teams search for survivors and assess the extent of the damage. The 3 rescue victims were pulled from the debris and attended to by medical personnel, while the bodies of 2 deceased individuals were later recovered. Authorities have begun investigation to determine the cause of the collapse. Preliminary assessments are expected to examine whether structural defects, construction practices, or other factors contributed to the incident. The collapse has once again raised concerns about building safety standards and compliance with construction regulations, prompting calls for stricter enforcement and regular inspection of structures across the country. Officials say rescue and recovery efforts have been completed, whilst investigations continue to establish the exact circumstances surrounding the collapse and prevent similar tragedies in the future. Two people have been confirmed that 3 others were rescued following the collapse of a building at the Accra North Industrial Area. Teams working for hours to search through the debris as efforts to rescue the account for affected persons. Vice President Nana Opoku Agyeman has called for a greater respect for building regulations and safety standards in the wake of the Aveno building collapse. Speaking on the incident, the Vice President stressed that tragedies resulting from structural failures can be avoided when all stakeholders in the construction sector complies with established rules and procedures. She emphasized the need for developers and contractors, engineers, and regulatory authorities to work together to ensure that buildings meet approved standards before construction and occupancy. According to her, safeguarding lives and property must remain a national priority, adding that strict enforcement of building codes is critical to preventing future disasters. The Vice President further urged relevant institutions to strengthen monitoring and inspection mechanisms to ensure full compliance with safety requirements across the country.
Who else? All of us. What are the lessons learned when things like this happen? It's not so much that we are standing here and talking about them. How do we ensure that going forward we see less and in fact that we eliminate them? It depends on all of us. I want to plead with all of us to abide by the rules of siting property, of siting even our own houses. We know the place is prone to flooding. We know that this is a waterway. Let's not invite unnecessary tragedy. I want to thank you again.
The Aveno building collapse has renewed concerns about building safety regulatory enforcement, with many calling for stricter oversight to avert similar incidents in the future. Authorities are expected to continue investigations into the cause of the collapse as efforts intensify to improve compliance and strengthen public safety measures within Ghana's construction sector. Away from the sad story from Aveno, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association is calling for enhanced security and stronger legal protection for healthcare professionals following the alleged assault of a midwife whilst on duty. The association says attacks on health workers threaten the safety and effectiveness of healthcare delivery. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association has condemned the reported assault of a midwife and is demanding immediate measures to protect healthcare workers across the country. According to the association, the incident highlights the growing risk faced by nurses, midwives, and other frontline health professionals in the course of their duty. The GRNMA says healthcare workers deserve safe and secure working environments and should not be subject to violence, intimidation, or abuse whilst providing essential services to the public. The association is urging authorities to thoroughly investigate the incident and ensure that those responsible are held accountable. It is also calling for improved security at health facilities and enforcement of policies aimed at safeguarding medical personnel. The GRNMA further warned that continued attacks on healthcare workers could negatively affect staff morale and the quality of healthcare delivery. The association reaffirmed its commitment to advocating for the welfare and safety of nurses and midwives nationwide. Investigations continue. Stakeholders in the health sector are being urged to work together to create safe workplaces and ensure that healthcare professionals can perform their duties without fear of violence or harassment. And as if for the major stories, we move to the business desk, where the Ghana Stock Exchange recorded a broader-based decline in delivery of the best as selling pressure swept across multiple centers, dragging market performance lower. The downturn reflects caution in investor sentiment amid ongoing economic and market developments. The Ghana stock market experienced a widespread sell-off, with several listed equities recording losses during the latest trading section. Market data shows that declines were recorded across a broad range of sectors, contributing to a drop in overall market capitalization and key stock market indices. Analysts say the sell-off reflects increased investor caution, with some market participants opting to take profits whilst others reassess investment positions in response to prevailing economic conditions. The downturn affected both large cap and mid cap stocks, underscoring the broad nature of the market weakness. Trading activities remain active as investors respond to changing market dynamics. Despite the recent decline, market observers maintain that the Ghana Stock Exchange continued to offer long-term investment opportunities, supported by ongoing economic reforms and improving corporate performance in some sectors. Investors are being encouraged to focus on market fundamentals and adopt long-term strategies whilst monitoring development that could influence future market direction. Market analyst says investor confidence and broader economic indicators will remain key factors in determining the stock market's performance in the weeks ahead. From the business expert, pick story from the West African and Nigeria, where hundreds of people held captive by Boko Haram have been rescued from a remote mountain hideout during their security operation. The rescue marks a significant breakthrough in ongoing efforts to dismantle insurgents' network and free victims held by the extremist group. Security forces have rescued hundreds of captives from Boko Haram stronghold located in a mountainous area in one of the largest liberation operations in recent months. Authorities says the victims, including women and children, have been held under harsh conditions and were freed during a coordinated military offensive targeting insurgent hideout. The operation forms part of a broader effort to weaken Boko Haram's presence and restore security to communities affected by years of insurgency. Security officials reported that the mission also led to destruction of camps and recovery of items used by the group. Following their rescue, the former captives were transferred to safe locations where they are receiving medical attention, food assistance, and psychosocial support. Officials have praised the efforts of security personnel involved in the operations, whilst humanitarian agencies continue to assess the needs of those rescued. Boko Haram's insurgency has displaced millions and claimed thousands of lives across parts of West Africa, making rescue operations such as this a critical component of regional counter-terrorism effort. Authorities says operations against insurgent groups will continue as efforts intensify to secure affected regions, protect civilians, and assist those recovering from captivity. And as I will wrap up this morning's Mega News, the 6th live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension. But before we take leave of you, we take a second look at the headlines. Professor Opoku Agyeman calls for stricter compliance with building regulations after Aveno building collapse. In business, Ghana stock market suffers broad-based sell-off. On the international front, hundreds of captives freed from Boko Haram mountain hideout. For more news, log on to MBN 360. The news was also live on our social media handles on MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. Up a sports update. Good morning.